Tracy Silverman. Thanks for tuning in to the For the Greater Groove podcast, a special edition.
Woo.
Woo! Yes, why is this night different from all other nights, as we say at the Seder table?
Yeah.
Because of this guy right here, Darol Anger, my big brother,
Oh,
my old friend. Oh my goodness.
So great to be here, man.
Here in Nashville.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a special a video version.
Yeah. We're in the same room.
Yeah. We can actually jam together. It's not a Zoom thing. It's
not a Zoom thing. Yeah.
What's the opposite of Zoom?
Like if really snaily, kind of slow.
Like, moose, I guess.
Yeah, moose. It's a moose.
It's a moose session that we're doing. And Darol Anger, for the maybe one person out there who is watching who doesn't know who Darol is.
And it's important that that one person knows. Darn it.
But it's really important that everybody remembers all of the stuff that Darol has done. I'm gonna do this bio, and you're gonna help me with your bio because you're right here.
Sure.
So why should I just screw it up and with you sitting there going, right? Because I know your bio pretty well. It's been a long,
Plenty. I mean, you don't really have room for that.
I'm even a small part of a small part of it.
Gigantic.
Because,
I mean, you're bigger than in the
TISQ years.
Probably should know, actually. Yeah. But,
so, Grisman was your first gig, right? A founding.
Yeah, that was the real gig. Yeah.
Right. That's kind of was the first thing,
yeah.
and then that kind of morphed into Montreux. We're going to do the abridged.
Yeah, Montreux band.
We're going to take a real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a sort of proto-mantra that included David Balakrishnan and Mike Marshall.
I didn't know David.
Barbara Higbee. Yeah, so that was cool. That was I was playing a lot of cello, bass.
See, there's always something I'm learning.
Yeah, something
from
weird.
This guy.
Yeah, not that it
was that the Great American Music.
No, we were calling that embarrassingly, but it was Dave's idea to call it Sahib. Because of I don't know why, but yeah. But that was a good band. We were experimenting with trying to figure out how to play real jazz on acoustic string instruments.
And that was with Mike Marshall.
Yeah, Mike came in as we had a couple of different mandolin players. Mike
Interesting.
Showed up at the end, and then that morphed into Montreux.
Right, with Barbara.
Yeah.
And Michael Manring.
Michael Manring showed up for that, and that was great.
I should probably turn off my phone for this, huh?
It's probably Michael Manring calling saying, "When are you going to mention me?"
We just did, Michael. Stop calling.
Stop calling me.
I'm going to really turn this off.
Yeah, Michael would probably be the last. Obviously, that's a joke because Michael would be the last person.
Yes. Michael is humble to the bone.
Humble to the bone. Yeah.
He's incredibly wonderful bass player.
We're going to eliminate that whole mention of him because it would just make him uncomfortable.
Too much attention.
Yeah, right.
We'll edit this up. You'll never see any of that stuff.
Yeah.
We'll and then that moved into the Turtle Island, one of the founding members right here.
Yeah. Myself, David, and
Mark Summer.
Mark Summer. Yeah, didn't really become Turtle Island until Mark showed up.
Right. Yeah. You gotta have a cellist in a quartet. It's pretty
important. Yeah.
For a string quartet.
That thing, and luckily he showed up.
Yeah, and then post TISQ, a bunch of projects.
Yeah, Katie barred the door. It was just like whatever,
Republic of Strings, Psychograss was
important.
A big,
Public
big
Strings. The ongoing duo was Mike Marshall.
Right.
That went on and 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 on.
And still is
going on. We just released a 41-year anniversary recording. And kind of cool.
Wow.
So what else? Yeah, and then like the Furies, and
I understand.
That was mostly me and a lot of really great women musicians. Emmy Phelps, Sharon Gilchrist, Maeve Gilchrist. At one point, the Furies included 2 Gilchrists. My life is rich and
related.
Gilchrist.
I'm assuming.
Well, very distantly. They can't find a common ancestor, although I'm
No
sure there is
way.
one. Yeah.
That's
It's kind of
so
wild.
crazy.
Yeah, I know. That was great.
Well, wow.
Yeah, we had
okay, the Furies, and then there's Fiddler's Four.
Fiddler's Four, right. I almost forgot about that. Yeah, it was Michael Doucet and Bruce Molsky and Rushad Eggleston.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Back when Rushad was, could be understood.
Before he was speaking only in
whatever it was. Yeah,
Sneed.
Yeah.
He has a translator that travels with him so that we can communicate.
It's called a cello.
Exactly. That's his bridge to humanity.
Yeah.
And anything else on my notes? Mr. Sun.
Oh, Mr. Sun, right. My current group, which is lovely and quite interesting. Just kind of sort of back to the roots of what I did. Mandolin, guitar, fiddle, and bass, which is pretty much the original setup for
yeah,
and that's so that's not it's not exactly difficult.
Yeah, it's like a Grisman quartet.
Yeah, which we did have for a while, which was really cool.
And of course, a professor at Berkeley.
Oh, that was cool. Yeah, I like that. That was nice. Yeah, I was a professor at Berkeley for almost 12 years, and that was amazing.
You always wanted to be a professor. When we were in Turtle Island,
you
were kind of the professor.
Well, sort of, according to some people. Yeah, I was professing a lot. Yeah, right. I was professing all over the place, actually.
You were very professional.
Everybody was professing.
We were all professional.
Yeah.
We just weren't. We didn't all become professors.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I mean, although we could.
We were so close.
You were doing some stuff, though. You're here at Belmont.
You're
professing.
I am professing
Belmont
occasionally.
University, yeah.
And you're also professing at Artist Works. You do a lot.
That is true. I have an online music fiddle school that is still going.
Yeah. What's that about?
Still going.
Tell us about that a little bit.
Right now.
Right
still
at this moment.
Now.
Right.
How about now? Yes.
Someone right now is making a video to send to you.
Send to me that I will personally evaluate and send them back and say, practice. It's actually wonderful.
I always thought that practicing is cheating because, anybody can do it if you practice, right?
I'm
Maybe not.
I'm not totally sure about that, man. I don't know. It's I have practiced, and there are things that I cannot do. But maybe I was just practicing the wrong way. I don't know. It's hard to say. But there are things that I have practiced that do work, and there's things I don't practice that seem to work.
Also work.
It's a mystery. Who can tell?
So it's not really proven. Practice is not yet proven. It's still a hypothesis, but we're going to go with it. We're going to go with it because the odds are pretty good of improvement. So for you students out there. And what are we gonna talk about today? We got Darol Anger. We've got a show about grooving and chopping.
And
playing rhythm.
Maybe we better talk about that stuff.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it. We have plenty of people that are, just doing it. It seems to be, even in Celtic music, it's caught on.
Yeah.
And it's really a beautiful thing. And it certainly is, I think the initial, kind of unsightly bulge of chopping is sort of kind of settled, to the where it becomes, it's just another technique that we use and string playing at the appropriate time.
Right.
So that's great.
It's just a bulge. It's like.
But people are still wanting to know, how do you do it? Is it like, and people do it differently.
I got to say, one of the interesting things, sorry to interrupt you there, hold that thought, but I found it really interesting as I talk to people on this podcast about this kind of stuff that everybody approaches it a little differently.
That is true, yeah.
It's really interesting. There are so many ways to approach this and just ways to teach it. Mm-hmm. I have my little system.
Yeah.
Casey has a way. Mike Block was doing, it's like front, forward, middle, front. It's like, okay, I never thought of that. It's like, I picked that up from Casey. I'm like, okay. So, I learned it from you. So I feel like
you had to. It was part of the gig.
It was part of the gig because when I showed up at the Turtle Island doorstep, one day.
Yeah.
And, you know, with like one of these.
That was amazing. Yeah. And then you proceeded to set, you know, borrowed a violin, and you aced every, you know, that was my moment of like going, okay, oh, there are people in this world that play the violin better than I will ever imagine playing.
Differently.
Yeah, but different, but better. You know?
No.
But I learned a lot from you. I know that you know, you probably learned quite a bit from me, and we both learned from each other. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
When that can happen.
And yeah, it really, it's very true. And I refer to you as my big brother a lot, as you know, which
that's so sweet.
And it probably annoys the crap out of you.
Oh,
but,
not at all.
Because you taught me everything. You not only taught me how to chop, you taught me how to, you know, like how to pack for the road. I've been just doing like bar gigs in New York and stuff, and this was my first big break, and you showed me the ropes, you know, just about everything about it, how to tour, how to play, how to chop, how to, you know, how to be in a quartet.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, you had so much together.
None of it really stuck.
Well, yeah, you know, but you know, I mean, the things that you are capable of doing, you know, you've gone on to just incredible things that I can only dream of doing, and it's so great. I mean, because you're Tracy. You've always been like, you know, yourself, and it was always obvious that you know, just do amazing stuff.
Thank you so much. But you know, here's the thing. So you kind of learned the chop. Did you actually learn it from Richard, or just sort of picked it up?
Actually. Yeah, I took a lesson from Richard.
So he actually like showed.
I said, Richard, that thing you do, what the heck is it? And I might have been patient. I mean, if Richard was patient 0 because he invented it, I was patient number 1. Yeah, right. Patient number 1. And then I did that for, you know, a couple of years. And then, you know, I think I taught Dave Balakrishna how to do it.
Right.
And,
because the idea of Turtle Island was to not have drums.
Right. Yeah. We wanted to, you know, we needed, if you're going to play contemporary music has percussion, has drums. You got to put that in there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just the string section.
So you were sort of on this mission to teach the quartet first how to do that.
Yeah. And of course, you know, Dave was, you know, it took him a couple of months, but like he totally got it, and it was great. And then Mark actually really ran with it and just developed into like a whole comprehensive technique
with the pits and slapping,
tapping. That was neat because we were in the same, you know, we were in the Bay Area, which, you know, at that point, you know, and Michael Hedges was there. Michael Mannering was there, all the tapping guys. There was two very important tapping guys. Right. So Mark picked up on that immediately. And
interesting. You know, I never put that together.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fantastic, you know, because Michael was over, you know, quite a bit, you know, at the house. Yeah, I remember sitting there with Barbara and Mike Marshall. Just, he came out, you know, we had food, and then he said, I want to play this new tune I just wrote. I'm really excited about it. I think it's really cool. And we're just sitting there in my living room listening to Michael play Rickover's Dream, which is for those of you who are into like tapping guitar. Yeah, it's a revelation. Yeah, it's a classic. It's like
Eddie Van Halen Eruption. For the Windham Hill crowd.
Yeah, something like that in slow motion.
Yeah,
backwards and in heels. And you know, like it's an acoustic guitar. So. You know, that's everything. You know, it's all in the air anyway. You know, I think that the idea you could play percussion on, you know, any string instrument. So that just became more of a thing for us, and that became, you know, a very important, you know, piece of the Turtle Island puzzle. Yeah. And so when you came in, that was. You know,
I mean that was the first thing.
You could do everything else, you know. Oh, there's just this one little thing, you know. You have to be able to do like a totally different, totally unfamiliar technique.
And it took me a couple months. It took me a while.
Yeah.
It took me a while, maybe more, till and you know, I think the entire time I was in the group, I was always being tweaked. I was always, you know, the guy was like, you know, don't forget to like keep pushing it, you know, like don't hang back. You always got to push the beat, you know, like that. Right. Like Danny would always tell me, like, no, you gotta push it, and
because there's nobody else pushing it for you.
Right, because
nobody else is gonna push it for you. You got to do it by yourself.
But so now, you know, when I teach it to students, I teach the Darol Anger method of chop, the way you taught me. And I remember you taught me, and I'll bet you don't teach it the same way now, because I'm sure you have progressed.
I probably,
since that was 1993.
learned how to teach it, you know, on you and a couple other people. You know?
Right. Well, that's for you students out there. That's how us teachers get better at what we do. We practice on you guys.
So true.
Right?
And, you know, really, can you really say you know something until you've taught it? You know, that is such a thing.
Leonard Bernstein said the best way to learn is to teach.
There you go. Yeah. And
I think he said that. He should have said that.
He should have said it. Yeah, he probably would have.
He would have if he'd have thought of it. So. And so, you know, I teach like the 5 rules of the chop. It's all the way at the frog. You turn the hair out. You keep your hand loose. That was actually a rule.
Relaxation.
Number 3. Number 4, you dampen your strings. And number 5, leave it on the string. I remember you said, leave it on the string because you got to... And what we would do like high school things, and you would, you know, you would always go through the same. So that's the way I teach it. But I'll bet you,
cool.
I bet you have an improvement on that now.
You know, I've sort of reversed it, because the leave it on the string part is the part that always.
I remember you said this, and I was like, God darn it, he's made it better, and now I got to write another book.
Start.
Right.
This is your rest position on the string. Your first stroke, which is kind of a drag, because I used to say, you know, according to Newton, what goes down must come up, and now I can't say that anymore. I just have to you know, because what comes up must come down,
which
right?
Is
you know,
which is
who cares? You know, I mean, that's obvious, isn't it? Right? So but that's that's cool. So that's my one thing. You know, trying to get people to leave the bow on the string is
hard.
Always,
right? Because you want to slap
they want to bounce it off, right? Because that's the way you do it, isn't it?
Right.
You know, but it's not. I mean, you've taken it. I mean, because you know you've come up, you know, with like this incredible, you know, teaching, and you just got a mind for it. You know, this great analytical mind. You were able to put this, you know, book together that I never could have even imagined. I
see my small place in the world as transferring the things that are in your brain to other people. But here's the thing about the chop. It's a stroke. Yes, we can show people how to do the stroke. But as we all know, a chop stroke is not a chop groove.
So true.
And you turned it into a rhythmic thing. So it's like, rather than having a drum that you can hit, now you have a drum kit, and you're like, you know, Steve Gadd or whatever.
Well, it's limited, but you know, you can, you know, the idea that, I mean, all this stuff is useless if you're just making sound. You know, anybody can make noise. You can even make a regular occurring sound, you know. Periodically precise, you know. But, you know, is it going to move? You know, is it going to make you want to tap your foot? Is it going to make, is it going to make you want to, you know, go back and forth? It's going to make you want to flop around on the floor like a fish, in the immortal words of Bonnie Raitt. That's what we want.
That's what we want.
Right?
So give them a little demonstration.
And I was really privileged to be able to teach a rhythm strings class in Berkeley, where I was forced to deal with this stuff and delve in a little more closely, you know, rather than just take an intuitive approach.
Right.
Tracy, I've got an idea.
Yeah?
Let's play a classic New Orleans second line hit by the Meters. Let's play.
See if I know
that tune. Yes, one of them.
Sissy Strut.
The Sissy Strut.
Sissy Strut.
One of the great features of this tune is that it's in C7.
C7, I knew that. I know that.
Yeah,
I know that chord.
That is the chord. That is the one chord that you need to know in order to do this one. And just by some crazy miracle, I happen to have a C string on this instrument.
Go figure.
Yeah, weird, huh? Yeah. So, right? Tracy. Yeah, baby. All right. Oh, that's so much fun. Yeah, all right.
It's too long, man. It's way too long.
Yeah, we gotta do more of this. Man, okay, so yeah, C strut. Yeah, just the idea that, okay, so, you know, you can't be the cymbals, and you can't be the bass drum. Well, you could be a little bit of a bass drum. You know, yeah, that's nice. You know, if you can really coordinate all of your hands, you know, again, something that Mark, you know, if you've got a cello, you know, you got a lot of extra firepower, you know, that you can deploy. if you're into deploying.
If you like to deploy.
But yeah, but basically, you know, what you got is hi-hat and snare. And if you know anything about drum kit, which I did have a drum kit in my house for a couple of years, and that was incredibly instructive.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, the idea that the groove comes, you know, is generally generated within the drum kit by those two instruments. The snare and the hi-hat are kind of the things that sort of are always going and sort of defining the sub-rhythms, like you're talking about. What do you call that? The inner
groove-ons.
The groove-ons, yes.
The smallest
the
particles
smallest
of the
rhythmic
groove.
Particles, yeah, of the groove. That's so great. And yeah, so
But
that's
all
you know,
about the
so that's
subdivision,
really, so that's what you need. You know, you got hi-hat and snare. And then you can add, you know, notes, which is great. Yeah. And you can add and you've got that systematized so beautifully. You know, that idea that the constant up down.
Yeah,
is where
motor.
it all comes
it's like
out.
Motor.
Yeah,
you know,
like
which I picked up from guitar players, because that's the way they teach. You know, that's the way guitar teachers teach guitar players. Like, you know, just keep the motor going. But let me ask you something about the vertical versus horizontal aspect of what you're doing.
I love that. You know, that you also identified that. You know, which is really cool. You know, because that's a way that you showed people how they could get into it, and that is such a great thing. The idea that. This is all, I mean, it's the same thing. It's the strumming, right? You go in horizontal, right? The correct bowing technique.
Right.
You don't go.
Right.
Right?
Right, because of the ghosting.
Yeah.
All of the ghosting.
Yeah, and I've been experimenting with that lately, especially in my fiddle school, where kind of identifying that idea that to get the ghosting, you're actually making circles.
That's what you wrote about in my book.
Yeah.
Bow circles.
And I'm really, you know, I'm actually getting a whole lesson series together within my online school right now.
Very interesting.
Just developing that. I'm writing some goofy little tunes.
See, now, here's another perfect example of something I never would have thought of. You know, probably because I come from a classical background, and this was just never even.
Nobody wanted to know about that.
It never occurred to me. You know, it was always back and forth, none of this. You know, but rather than, you know, I mean, my approach was always, you know, ghosting either with your left hand or you know, with lightening up pressure. It never occurred to me that this actually naturally makes that happen, and yet that's a kind of a fiddle thing, or is that your own thing?
I think it's a fiddle thing, you know, you see, especially in the Appalachian styles, you know, because there's a lot of that kind of, you know, in order, you know, people don't actually necessarily have, they don't use this, the pinch, in order to, because you can do that. I mean, that's a pretty standard thing where you're, like, it's involved, Vivaldi and everything. Right?
The martelet.
Yeah, there's part martelet. It's really what it is. There's a pinch where you're and that can be used. But the Appalachian folks will do that as sort of waving your arm up and down.
Interesting.
The wave, you know, and it's kind of like figure eight bowing.
Right. So,
I'm not that great at it yet, but I'm working.
So interesting.
But that sort of translates into the you know, that just becomes figure eight. I mean, the simpler version has circles, so you get both. You know, that's kind of so that's what I've been sort of working on, is trying to and again, anything that keeps your wrist relaxed, freed up, keeps, you know, this whole assembly flexible and active.
It was one of the 5 rules.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
On the tablets. That were handed down.
Interesting. Yeah. And at one point, I'd love to have a conversation. You know, maybe not in this podcast, but just about how, you know, in you know, like legit violin playing, where the, you know, where the difference is between the wrist and fingers following the arm, right? And where the wrist and fingers start initiating stuff.
Interesting.
You know, because there's you know, that's, you're always going back and forth over that line. You know.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm a real wrist and finger guy. I do a lot of that, articulation, all that stuff. And for the fast fiddle playing, you know, if I can play, you know, there are days when I can do this. You know, and you see,
sorry.
Yeah, when people like Mark O'Connor and Stuart are masters of this, just.
Yeah. I believe I've mentioned it on at least 2 other of these podcasts already within the first few. How I learned this from Darol Anger. If you want to play rhythmically accurately, use less bow. This blew my mind because I was, you know, the classical thing, and it was always, use more bow, play louder. And I remember you telling me, like, and of course, you never. By the way, I learned so much from this guy. He never ever told me anything.
You had to figure it out.
I had to figure it out myself. No, he never told me. He led by example, is my point. And I would watch you do it, and you might have said something like, "Hey, you don't need all that, Bo. You got a microphone." And that was all I needed. And then I would just watch you, like, the intro to the solo on Night in Tunisia.
Yeah.
Right?
There's no way you could do that with it.
No, and that's like such, classic Darol moment, which I will play in the podcast right here. And
whoa, did I do that?
Wasn't that amazing? And but when I was able to stand next to you on stage night after night and watch you do this, and I'm like at first, being the arrogant jerk that I am, when I first got there, like, you're not using any bow, jeez.
And then kidding.
I was like, God, Mr. Galamian would
he'd throw up.
Right? And then it started to dawn on me the brilliance of that, and now it's like de rigueur in anybody who I teach. Like, if you're trying to play rhythm, if rhythm is about accuracy. There's no room for that sloppiness when you're really setting up a tight groove and stuff like that. And the more bow you use, the less tight it's going to be. That's all there is to it.
Something recent, I don't know if we talked about this, when I was, but, if you want to legitimize it, we can talk about stage acting versus movie acting.
Right.
Stage acting, where you have to, nobody's going to hear you.
Right.
Right? So you have to play like that.
Right, but now we have microphones.
But so we can just...
It's a different thing.
Yeah.
And let's circle back for a second to the horizontal versus vertical thing. So when you're playing, do you consciously think about, I'm going to bring more horizontal into this, or I'm just going to be like a total chop, or is it just constantly morphing back and forth? And is the reality of it that it's just this very flexible...
I'm not thinking about it a lot.
Yeah.
That's been sort of my MO, with this stuff, is just don't think about it, and that's why it's taken so long to develop it to anything. And I see people like you and Casey and these folks who are just like, they've taken off with it because they actually have put some thought into it.
Because we had to learn it.
Maybe so, you got in the habit.
You invented it.
But, the idea that, you had to be able to... there's a certain amount of horizontality that has to happen if you're playing notes, right? Right. If you have a downstroke, it has to be somewhat horizontal.
Right. If you want to play harmonically.
So there's that, and really, it's just something that I probably started doing it very simple, just playing. Every time there was a chord change,
right, just to indicate like a little bit of harmony.
Yeah,
like dexterious. Like what's the
the
groove for that?
Yeah. I can't believe I remember that.
It's been a long time, man.
Now the interesting thing was that it's alternating. That's
yeah. Down, up. My quartet at Belmont, you know, we were playing that, and the music that, you know, you graciously wrote down to try to notate this unnotatable thing that we're hearing, you know, the violin's like,
what is this?
There's a lot of X's.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And I would say, just listen really carefully.
Yeah. So, yeah, and of course that could also be, it could just be played, right, horizontally. Right? Just, you know, you're just ghosting everything. That was one of your teaching innovations that I love, where you're going from horizontal to vertical, you know, gradually moving up the bow, which is just brilliant, you know, that idea where you're starting here. You're kind of at the balance point. That's great. That's,
you know, it opened up it to, in my mind, you know, all I've been doing, like with my stuff, the book and stuff, is to try to help people to figure out what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And to because everybody basically just wants to be able to, you know, sound like Darol, and I remember from watching you do this for years that there was all of this stuff that was not a chop, but it was not this. It was somewhere in this wonderfully rich, fertile middle ground where all of this stuff was happening.
Right there.
Not there, not there. Right around there.
This is the spot where the bow starts talking back to you. Yeah. It starts communicating with you. It goes, oh no, I don't want to do that. Oh, but I like that. Keep doing that. It's like a cat, you know?
Oh my God, that is so wonderful,
like,
man. That's golden. That's golden.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's.
I started calling it percussive bowing, just for lack of a better word, because it's like, is it a note or is it a noise? I can't tell.
Yeah,
it's somewhere in between.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Is it?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Especially when you just like dampen.
Oh yeah.
And then you're not even making a tone. Because when we would jam, when we'd start jamming, like you know, we would love to take tunes and just like let them devolve.
Yeah.
You know, and just go wherever, you know, just sort of like water that just sort of like left the stream bed and just sort of like started wandering out. Right? It's like, where's it going? I don't know. Maybe and you know, we'd start with a tune, and then somewhere, you know, somebody would be playing something, and more often than not, you would be accompanying, as much as the best soloist in the, you know.
Well, but my, you know, those years in high school of playing last chair, second violin, really did a great thing for me. You know, just that idea that, oh, I'm an orchestral player. I'm playing another line. I'm playing a support line.
Middle part, a support line. And this is the whole point of the podcast. Is the whole point of my life right now. is to hip string players to the fact that, you know what, step back from that front of the stage, soloist, melodic place, and enjoy being a support player, enjoy being a rhythm player.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
really a blast,
more fun.
And you have a lot more control.
Yeah, exactly. You're driving the bus.
Yeah.
You know, and when we, you know, often when we'd solo, you know, you'd be like, you go, you know, you would often play the baritone fiddle, so it's down there, it's in a support range, and letting everybody else take the lead stuff, and you would be just grooving away, and sometimes it was just a this in the back, and sometimes it would be a little bit of groove, right? But it would come back to this, and sometimes it would devolve, as we were saying, you know, it would just go into something completely different. We'd all just start making noise, and pretty soon we're all going like, right.
That's great. Yeah, you know, a good 6 years of teaching. I mean, I only started in the last 6 years teaching a rhythm strings class, and that was incredibly instructive for myself. Yeah, having to figure out, you know, okay, what are we calling this stuff? 2-beat? Is it four on the floor? Is it this? Is that? Is it like, is it you know, 3-3-2, the mother rhythm thing, all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, putting names on stuff is part of teaching, because that's what's teachable, is to put names on stuff.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
What else you know?
Yeah.
You can
so much of it is so
teach
ephemeral.
by example, but you know, if you're actually having to impart some information that can be tested, then then
it's going to be on the quiz.
It's like naming stuff, you know.
You got to have a name.
That's how name. Yeah. So, but yeah, that was really interesting because trying to parse some of the stuff and really, you know, when we were getting into, you know, some of the most unexpected sources for like really complicated rhythms, such as Swedish polskas, things like that, you know, where you're kind of there's whole thing like nested triplets that are going on, where you're doing like it's really kind of some polska, by the way, it comes from the polka. It's the precursor. It's actually more of a mazurka. But that came from Poland. I guess those guys were not that far away from Poland and Scandinavia, and all that stuff's mixed around.
Right.
It was really interesting, kind of delving into that sort of sub-classical music, you know, semi-popular music that's been going on in Western Europe for as long as, you know, longer really than, you know, what we think of as Western European art music.
Exactly. It was the folk music that a lot of classical music is based on.
Yeah.
Chopin and, you know...
The good melodies. Who had the good melodies? The bar guys.
Yeah.
You know, the bar fiddlers. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they took a lot of stuff. And so that was really interesting, like delving into, you know, this kind of... Like
show me.
3/4 giant
Turn me on to some
3/2.
new things I don't know. There's so much I don't know.
But the 9/8, for instance, you know, where you go, you know, you're thinking like, you can think, well, the obvious way to organize 9/8 is the 3 groups of 3, right? 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1.
Like a slip jig kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly, like a slip jig. But you can also go 2s with one extra. Yeah, right. 1 2 3 4 1 1. Wow, you know, that's an amazing thing. And
does that happen against the 3 thing, or is it?
Well, you have a 3 going. Somebody's doing a 3, but you're also, but not necessarily, because maybe there's only 2 instruments. There's a viola or a fiddle. They have violas and folk music over there. Amazing. Or like a nickel harpa, which is the giant stretched out violin with it's basically got keys like a hurdy-gurdy.
Right.
But you're playing it with this little short bowstring kind of dodging. All it's Swedish, you know. I don't know, the Swedes, they're good at that. They dodge stuff. But so you get these melodies that like are that will start on the first 8th note, the second 8th note of the bar. So it's like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1.
Wow. Try to find the one in that if
you know, that kind of stuff is,
wow.
you know, in a way that, you know, when I started hearing that stuff, that was sort of this, I kind of had the same responses you had to the Egberto, you know, the Brazilian stuff.
Yeah.
And really, you know, that's been, although I wasn't able to actually pull it off, you know, physically for, you know, it's taken me a few years, but that kind of stuff is just fascinates me. And, you know, just things like, you know, getting people playing 7, things like that. 7 is really kind of the easiest odd meter,
Yeah.
I think.
I always felt it was easier than 5 for some reason.
Yeah, 5, I always feel like I'm rushed. You know,
Yeah.
always like,
There's never enough time for 5.
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, like, oh,
7
yeah,
is
okay. But 7, you know,
yeah, 7 is its own world.
Yeah, and then you know, there's the 4, you know, yeah, and there's some good. There's a couple of good. There's Norwegian, very popular Norwegian tune called the Phoenix, which was written recently by a woman named Annbjørg Lien, who. You know, it's just a beautiful tune. And
is that on a Hardinger or on a regular?
She wrote it on a Hardanger. You can play it on anything, including, you know, instruments that we, you know, haven't invented yet. But which is, yeah, but yeah. Down, 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 up, 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 down, down, down. You know, 7, 8,
yep.
And then going from that to 7, 4 is a beautiful thing, because then you're. I would, you know, we naturally want to choose. I think it's easier to choose 4, 3, right? You know, so you 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Again, you got your 2 big downs and then down and up, right?
Yeah.
2 down, 1 down, down and up and down, down. You know, those kind of things. Just getting people to feel that first. Don't count. Just go wah, 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 wah. Right, you know,
right, yep.
Our emotions.
Yes. Steps, you know.
Steps for sure. You know, all the Balkan stuff, right? It's all based on.
Yeah.
Right. You know, short, short, long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Da 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 da. Yeah. That stuff is, you know, that getting people to feel all this stuff first was really a great exercise for me personally.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then just those tricks that, you know, how are you going to chop that? You know, how's that going to get chopped?
Yeah.
And especially, you know, like things like even like such as like 6/8, for instance, where you're going, you have to start, you know, usually the rule is down bows are downbeats, up bows are upbeats, but in a 6/8 situation, you have to start with an up stroke so that you get the backbeat on the downstroke, right? So if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're starting, so those little tricks, you know, all kind of feed into things. It's really fun, actually.
Yeah. You mentioned something a second ago is, you know, feeling it as opposed to like counting it. Mm-hmm. You know, and that you have to feel it, and this idea of either dancing, using steps or something.
Yeah.
But that change between using our brains to kind of figure it out and count. Mm-hmm. Or that part of our brain that does that, and the other rest of our body from here down that's feeling rhythm, mm-hmm. You know. And the more I teach it, the more I realize that, you know, I can explain it to you from you know, today till tomorrow. Yeah. But until you put it in your body, until you move to it. Yeah. You're just never gonna get it because it's not up here.
Yeah, and that's not to say that, you know, you can't. I mean, the brain is important just to be able to, you know, figure out, you know, how to feel it. You know, sometimes you have to figure that out. Right. How am I gonna? What moves am I gonna make in order to do that? So it's part of it. But ultimately,
at some point in the process, it has to get into your body. It has to be physically. It has to become music. And, you know, and that's right. So and I think a lot of people are put off by odd meters because it seems so mathy or something, and it's really just a matter of like that, you know, da 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 da. Yeah, like, you know, it's in your arms or in your legs, you know,
or like just the rotation of the spine, you know. Right. Right. You know, that's a great one too. Yep. A lot of times I've been telling people that, you know, well, if you don't want to pound, you know, you don't want to stomp your foot, you don't want to. You know, and you don't want to be obvious, you know. You know, you can just do slight rotation, you know. And that's a great thing, you know. You can do that without people really noticing what's going on. In fact, I'm doing that and I'm swimming the backstroke at the same time, and you don't even notice what's going on. I'm also driving a car, and I'm solving all kinds of like orbital problems right now. You don't even know. I don't even know it.
And this is how we entertain ourselves on the road. This is
so true. Yeah,
how we get through the gig.
So true. What's on the list?
I know what's on the list. I know what's on the list. It's usually the last segment of the show. I don't know if we're ready to wrap it, but we can do it here, and then we'll
do others.
We'll wrap it when we're getting ready.
Yeah. God damn it!
But this is a part of the show that I call "Not My Gig."
Okay.
Based on the wait, don't tell me, not my job. In which, as my guest, something that hopefully they know nothing about, and and Darol Anger, you're, off on my music, that you would like print up parts, back in Turtle Island, and you would, print them up at home, and then you would hand me a part, and it would always often have D. Anger up on the top. And I was like, Danger? What? So we're going to ask you how much you know about Nick Danger.
Oh!
From the Fireside Theater character. And
He's ready for anything. He's Nick Danger, Third Eye. I want to order a pizza to go and no anchovies. No anchovies? You've got the wrong man. I spelled my name, Danger. What?
So there you go. What? I spelled my name, Danger. So we're going to ask you how much you know about Nick Danger. So, one of Danger's criminal nemesis is described as a little man and a slimy weasel based on Dashiell Hammett's Joe Cairo, as portrayed by Peter Lorre in the 1941 film The Maltese Falcon. What was his name, his evil nemesis? Was it A, Bill Weevil, B, Sam Salamander, or C, Rocky Rococo?
I believe it was Rocky Rococo.
You are absolutely right, my friend. I saw that glimmer of recognition at the mention.
Oh, it could have been, Sam. What's the next one?
Okay. True or false? 50-50 shot on this one. Danger's old college flame, Betty Jo Bielowski, uses several aliases. Melanie Haber, Audrey Farber, and Susan Underhill. But, quote, everyone knew her as Nancy. True or false? Rococo's and Nancy's names are a gag based on the Beatles song Back in the USSR.
True or false? False.
You are right. It is.
I just went through the whole darn song.
The entire lyric. Everyone knew her as Nancy. It was from Rocky Raccoon.
Yes, it had a ring.
The Rocky Rococo reference.
Yeah.
Okay, here's your third question. You can get a perfect score with this one, and if you were listening carefully, you might have caught it. Nick Danger was often announced by the narrator as Nick Danger, Corrective Detective. Or B, Nick Danger, Third Eye. Or C, Nick Danger, Cop's Cop.
Third nostril.
It was the third nostril, wasn't it? Well, you have a perfect score.
Yeah, I was a big fan of those guys, even though I could never understand anything after about the first 5 minutes. I was completely overwhelmed.
Dude, man, we could ramble on for a long time, and after we turn the cameras off, we will.
Yeah.
but what a joy to have you here, man.
Oh, Trace. It's just
my brother.
So great to be here. Yeah, man. All right. Well, yeah, I'm
Thank
hoping
you.
to have you over
Thank
to
you.
my little school.
Yeah, because
soon.
Darol now lives in Nashville. We are lucky enough to have him here, and that's why. And it's post-pandemic now. We're all vaxxed up.
Yeah.
And we're doing the anti-Zoom moose. We're doing the Moose podcast.
Moose.
So there you have it, folks. Darol Enger, straight from the horse's mouth, the chop, and then some.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks
for
brother.
having me, man.